Sorry, this awful new voice thing that comes up. So. Yeah, so roll onto your side for a couple of breaths, and then we're going to start with some sort of sitting hip things. So when you've rolled to your side, you're going to come over and you're going to start in cobbler pose, leaning back onto your hands. So there's still a few people who haven't arrived yet, so I'm going to be having to sort of come and let them out of the waiting room, but I think we'll make a start. So lean back on your hands, bring the soles of your feet towards each other in cobbler pose, and just see how this feels. We won't stay here too long in this initial bit of cobbler pose. We're going to do some other movements and then we'll come back to it. So from here, you can let one knee come on top of the other knee and slide your top leg back. So you're coming into pinwheel, and you're going to start just to do a little bit of circling around here. Good. Very nice. Yeah. Good. So, and again, when you're circling, you can stay quite high up. You can go a little bit lower. If your shoulders or arms are feeling achy, you could hug yourself in the same way we were doing a moment ago, and you could do that movement and let your head fall forwards. So again, really depending on how your body's feeling today, you've got all of these options. Good. And once we've done a little bit more circling, so make sure you're going in both directions. Lovely. Tracy and Donna, I don't know whether you find that you might want to spin around. So I'm facing the long edge of my mat. It doesn't really matter if you've got carpet beneath you, but if you've got wood floor, you might be more comfy like this. And then what we're going to do is turn towards the knee that's going out to the side and fold our body down over the leg. And just settle there and have a few breaths. So it's that feeling of resting the weight of your torso down through your thigh, down towards the ground. And as you're doing so, let your shoulders be as soft and relaxed as possible. And gather your attention into your breathing so you can feel the movement of your breath in your body. So perhaps for another couple of cycles of breath, feel the breath coming in, feel the breath leaving you. Yes, and Alice, if it's better, just stay more upright. You don't have to go particularly low. You can lean onto your hands. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Good. And then from this pinwheel forward bend, walk your hands in towards you and come so you're sitting back upright again. And then you're going to lean onto, so that knee that's going out to the side, you're going to lean onto that arm. So already you're sort of letting your weight shift towards that leg again, the leg we folded over. And then with your other arm, you're going to start to do this sort of loose semicircle with your fingers from your back toes towards your supporting arm, hand. And just, that's it, swinging your arm, keeping it sort of quite free and easy. That's nice, good. And you can follow your fingers with your eyes if you like. Obviously, if you go really quickly, then that might make you feel a little bit dizzy. So you might not want to do that. Good. And then just start to develop this by, I've got to let someone into the waiting room, by then starting to slap your hand onto the back of your shoulder as you turn. I think that's Hilary just arriving, so let me let her in. Okay. And then from here, the next stage is to stay with your hand on the back of your shoulder. Let your elbow drop a little and then sink into your supporting arm. And then you could take your arm up towards the ceiling and follow your fingers with your eyes. And then come back down, reverse those movements. So hand onto your shoulder, your pelvis comes down, you bring your fingers back to your back foot. So swing your arm again. We'll do this 3 times. Hand onto the back of the shoulder, sink into your supporting arm, follow your fingers up towards the ceiling, and then come back down again. So just make sure this feels comfortable. We've got this feeling of opening through the front of our body. Hi, Hilary. We were just starting in some sort of sitting pinwheel. So you could join us possibly inside too. Good. So this is the sort of 3rd time we're doing this. This lovely feeling of opening through the front of the body. And then when you come down from your third time, you could fold back into your forward bend. So fold back over that leg that's going out to the side, the knee that's going to the side, and have a couple of breaths. Yes, Hilary, you could start lying down. That's absolutely fine. So as well as the men drilling next door, we seem to have acquired this very noisy magpie in the back gardens, which is louder than the drilling at the moment. So from being in your pinwheel forward bend, walk your hands in towards you. And Hilary, if you liked, you could come join us. Let your back leg come on top of your front leg and open your legs out into cobbler pose. We're going to stay in cobbler pose a little bit longer this time. So you could be, there's just a few things we can do here. There's probably more than a few things. We can lean back on our arms. We could sit a bit more upright and hold on to our feet and ankles. And we could circle as we did in pinwheel. So this is this feeling that we're just sort of circling around our sit bones. What else could we do? We could rock. We could do this one where we're rocking onto one sit bone and then the other. So Hilary, I think I might just mute you, or you've disappeared now anyway. Good, yeah, so there's rocking onto one sit bone and then the other. And sometimes with these, it's just sort of seeing what feels most enjoyable for you today. And then the final one, I'm sure there's plenty more we can do, is this sort of side lengthening. So we lean onto one arm and the other arm comes up and over. And so again, if you come onto this and you're thinking, I'm not really enjoying this, go back to one of the others. I was just thinking, actually, this feels quite nice. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, and Donna, that's quite interesting. Rocking and side bending at the same time. Very nice, coming up with your own variations. Let's move on to side 2 of pinwheel. So let your knee, going the other way, let your knee come on top of one knee and slide your back leg back. And come back to some circling here. Good. And again, you can stay upright or you can go a bit lower. So it really depends. Let Alison in now. So it really depends what feels good. Remember, you can hug yourself, cross your arms over your chest. If you've got sort of achy shoulders. Hi, Al, very nice to see you. We were just doing a little bit in pinwheel. So yeah, you can hug yourself here if you like. And then just like we did on the other side, so Hilary, you're going to be doing this on one pinwheel on one side. So come into your forward bend, and then if you felt you wanted to do the other side rather than the twisty things to balance yourself up, you could do. So I'll sort of leave that up to you. You can fold over the knee that's going out to the side. I mean, it's fine to do everything on one side. It's not necessarily going to leave you unbalanced, but I think you need to make that decision about what would feel best in your body. So Al, the same for you. We'd started in cobbler pose and then pinwheel. So we're on side 2. So it might be that you want to do a little bit of pinwheel on each side. We were doing pinwheel and then a twist. So you could do cobbler pose, move into your pinwheel forward bend, and then do the other side. So just maybe let yourself have another cycle of breath in pinwheel, those of you who are in the forward bend. And then walking your hands in towards you. Good. So Hilary, if you like, you could move on to side 2 of pinwheel. Everyone else, and Al, you do side 1 and side 2. Everyone else, if you come to lean onto your arm, so this is the knee that's going out to the side, lean onto that arm, and then you're starting to draw a semicircle with your fingers. So swinging your arm. That's it, in the semicircle, good. So towards the back toes and then towards that supporting hand. That's nice. And what I'd like you to notice, I didn't say this on side 1, is that your pelvis, as you turn towards your supporting arm, your pelvis is coming along with that movement. So just see if you can feel that. Good. And then we'll start to slap our hand onto the back of our shoulder. Good. So I always think when I come onto side 2, I'm a bit more wanting to get into things because I know where it's going. So we can slap our hand onto the back of our shoulder, we can sink into our supporting arm, and then follow our fingertips up towards the ceiling. So coming into this sort of opening out through the front of the body movement. And then come back down, hand onto your shoulder all the way down. And again, swing your arm around, slap yourself on your back, sink into that supporting arm, follow your fingertips to the ceiling and back down again. Good. Okay, one more time. So one more time, swinging your arm, sinking into that supporting arm, opening out through the front of the body, follow your fingertips to the ceiling. Good. Coming back down. And when you come back down again, come back into your pinwheel forward bend. And just settle and quieten. And Anson and Hilary, just sort of make sure that you feel that you've worked evenly on both sides, because in a moment we're moving on from pinwheel. So settle down, let your shoulders soften, let the back of your neck soften. Yes, and Tracy, it's better to come out. Just yeah. Good. Okay, and what we're going to do is walk our hands in towards us. Lean back on your hands and lengthen your legs out in front of you. So we're going to do another, so if you lean back on your arms, you can roll your legs. I'm just going to actually tilt my screen so I'm slightly not having my feet cut off. We're going to do another sort of hip and also a little bit of foot exercise sitting down. So from here, take your feet a bit wider, not massively wide. And then you're going to bend one knee and stand that foot on the floor. You're going to lean onto the long leg arm and hand and bring the bent knee hand onto its knee. That's it. You don't want to have your foot too close to your bottom, because what we're trying to do here is let our knee rock towards the floor. You might want your foot a bit more out to the side, Tracy. It doesn't really matter. The knee's probably not going to reach the floor as it goes out, but I'd quite like your knee to be able to reach the floor as it comes towards your long leg. Yeah? So these internal and external rotation movements, good. That's nice. So just repeat these a couple more times. And then we're going to go a little bit further with each of them. Yeah, I wonder whether you need your knee slightly more bent, Tracy. Yeah, it's all sort of playing around. It doesn't like the twist. It doesn't like the going in. No. Okay. Yeah, well, you don't have to go very far. It's fine. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is let the knee come out and then slide your foot and leg towards each other. So you're coming into sort of sitting tree pose. And we'll just see how that feels for a moment. We won't stay there long. You can support yourself on your arms. If some of these are very easy for you and you want to try folding forwards over your long leg, you can do. But that's just briefly, because we're not going to spend a lot of time with that. But if that's something you enjoy doing and you'd like to try. What we're going to do from here is start to lean onto the other arm. So you're going to lean onto your bent leg arm, and you're going to catch the bent leg foot, the outside of that foot in the opposite hand. Yeah, that's it. So you can swing, yeah, that's the opposite hand on it, good. So you can swing your foot from side to side. Good, is that all right, Tracy? Yeah. Yeah, it can be a small movement or a large movement, yeah, whatever works for you. Swing the leg from side to side. And then can you end up by placing your ankle somewhere on your long leg thigh? You're going to tap that same hand, you're going to thread your fingers between your toes. So you've got the palm of your hand facing the sole of your foot, and you're threading your fingers between your toes. That's it. And once you've done that, you could massage your ball of your foot a bit. Right, you're trying to get them through. Now, I was partly doing this because my feet have just feel like a real state at the moment. Yes, you can massage the ball of your foot, and you could also come back to a little bit if you wanted a bit of swinging your leg with your fingers threaded in between your toes. So it's really whichever you prefer, whether it's a bit of massaging the foot or swinging the leg. Okay, good. Yes, and then you can. You finally got your fingers through. I won't say unthread them. So actually, well, then maybe you do want to release them, but maybe we'll have to do more of this. So release that foot, lengthen your leg out for a moment. And then Tracy, just go easy with this next thing, because on the same side, that same knee that we had bent, stand it on the floor again. And then just come to this movement where the knee was coming in. And you can really roll onto this long leg. And I just would like you to see, where can you go in terms of coming onto the top of your foot? That's it. So that's it, Tracy. So it's towards a half virasana. And to some of you, it may be really easy to do that and then sit up. And I'm just going to go side on. So Tracy, at that point, there's a few options. So you could then come back into pinwheel with the other leg. So that's one option, particularly if you're more off to the side. You could, if this is quite easy, this leg could be long and you could try folding over it. Or you could bend your long leg and stand that foot on the floor and you could go back in this sort of half virasana. So Alice, if this is all feeling rather hideous, then being sort of, off to the side, perhaps in pinwheel again. Just, slightly on the top of your foot. So we've hopefully got a few options here. That's it. Al, make sure your knee's not wandering out to the side too much. If you'll get, that's it. Well done. Good.
Kara, could you possibly go through the options again?
Okay, the options be, so it depends really how easy Virasana is for you. So if you can sit reasonably comfortably on the top of your foot, you could be folding forwards over your long leg. That's one option. Or you could be bending that knee and going backwards in a half sort of Virasana. That's option 2. The third option was going into pinwheel, and that's more if you're sort of on the side of your foot and it's a bit more challenging. Yeah? Okay, good. Right, I think we've probably had enough there now, but we'll be doing this on side 2, so it's useful to know those options. Just lengthen both legs out for a moment in front of you and lean back on your arms. Lovely. And then again, have that starting point of having your feet a bit, your legs wide, not massively wide, a bit wide, and bend the other knee. Good. Lean onto the long leg. So Tracy, the more you can lean onto that long leg side, the easier it's going to make this knee. Come back to hand on your knee, letting your knee tip in and out. And the more you can really lean onto the long leg side, the easier this leg is going to, more easily this leg will move, because we're not sort of bearing weight through it. And we're just finding these internal, this is internal rotation, external rotation. Is that, that looks a bit easier. Do you think it's easier on that side?
It's easier on this knee.
Yeah. It's always good to be wary of our knees. Okay, when the knee's coming out to the side, let's then slide the foot and the long leg together. So a bit like we're in tree pose and sitting. If this feels very easy, you could fold forwards over your long leg. If it's not so easy, you can just lean back on your hands and let your knee drop. Okay, so that's just a little choice there. And then if you want to stay folding forwards, that's fine. The next thing we do is you're going to lean onto your other arm, your bent leg arm and hand, and you're going to take the outside edge of your foot. So you've got opposite hand and foot. That's it. So we can swing our leg from side to side. Oh, Donna, other foot. That was your long leg, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm glad I spotted that. Would have got to. Yeah. So I never know with these things whether, I think lefts and rights would get into more of a pickle. I know I'm good. So swinging your leg. Lovely. You're holding onto the outside edge of your foot. And then we can thread our fingers to our toes. And if you want to do a bit more swinging of your leg, so the leg comes onto, your ankle comes onto your thigh. I've got my palm facing the sole of my foot. And then I'm threading my fingers between my toes. And it looks a bit easier on that side.
A little bit easier.
Yeah.
Quite tightly together, my toes.
So you can do a bit of massaging the ball of your foot. That's good. And also, if you want to, you can come back to just a little bit of swinging of your leg with your fingers in between your toes. So it's really, really up to you again at this point. Good. Okay, very nice. And obviously you can stay here for a bit longer if you like. Maybe when you release your fingers, I didn't say this on the other side, when you release your fingers from your foot, you might want to shake your hand out and wiggle your toes. Lengthen that bent leg out for a moment, because then we're going to take the leg the other direction. So we come back to the foot out to the side, and then it's this movement of the knee coming inwards towards the long leg. And then how is it to come more onto the top of the foot? And so you don't want to be forcing anything at this point. There could be restrictions in the ankle or the knee that, mean that you only go so far with this, and that's fine. So if you come into this and it is quite challenging and the foot's a bit more out to the side, you can then bring your other leg into pinwheel. That's probably the best option. If you can come into this half Virasana and it's reasonably comfortable. You've got those two options of either folding forwards over the long leg or bending your knee, standing your foot on the floor and going backwards. And that's nice. If you're in pinwheel, a bit of circling, that's very nice, Alice, good. So, and then we are going to, from here, come into dog pose, forward bend, up into standing. So you might just want to lengthen both legs out for a moment. So we're sort of going to take some of the movements we've been doing on hands and knees, not hands and knees, and sitting into standing and some standing balances. But first of all, come onto hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. As you exhale, you're going to rock your hips back and then up into dog pose. And you're going to have a few breaths in dog. So we've been doing lots of things to release around the pelvis, but we may still be feeling quite tight in the back of the legs. So bending one knee at a time, or bending both knees, resting down through our arms, letting the head go. Just, yeah, just making dog pose as enjoyable as possible. That would be good on a Friday morning. And you can have another couple of breaths, 2 or 3 breaths in dog if you like. From dog, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet and arriving in a forward bend. So all of your weight in your feet, letting your head go, letting your arms go. Tracy, you might want to bend your knees and rest your elbows on your thighs. So if your lower back is feeling a bit vulnerable, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. Let your head go. So whatever sort of forward bend you're doing, let your head go. Good. Feel the weight in your feet, particularly your heels. And then as you exhale, we can sink into the heels. Again, if you need to support your back, walk your hands up your thighs, otherwise roll up into standing. And it might be time for a drink of water. It's quite humid. Thankfully, with the magpie and the builders are quiet at the moment, so long may it last. Let's just for a moment settle in standing. So have a look at your feet for a moment. So feet a little distance apart, feet parallel. And then once you've looked at your feet, stop looking at your feet. Close your eyes, if you like, and just come to a little bit of swaying from side to side. So let your arms hang. Good. So a little bit of swaying from side to side and standing. We're just starting this process of feeling our feet on the floor, feeling ourselves in standing. And it is a process. It can take some time, particularly I think on Friday morning when, we might be a little bit tired. Good. Okay, so I'm swaying from side to side, perhaps just for a moment, let yourself settle in standing, stop swaying and feel both footprints on the floor. Okay, and then let's open our eyes. Let's come to just a sort of this loose, easy swinging twist. Good, you're swinging your arms from side to side. Very nice, that's lovely. Good. Just keeping it sort of easy and relaxed, something that feels, so I say this again, something that feels enjoyable. So as much as possible, we're doing things that feel good in our body. And yeah, just enhance our general feeling of well-being. Okay, so a couple more times. And then we're just going to start to work with, so I suppose start quite simply with some balances and then work up where it's some, nothing too dramatic. So the first thing I'd like to do is come back and settle with your feet a little distance apart. So come back again and look at your feet. And then we'll start the movement where we're bringing our weight forwards onto the balls of our feet and then bringing our heels back down again. So just a little bit of rocking your weight forwards. So at this point, it's probably good to be looking at a point ahead of you. What I tend to notice is that when I come onto the balls of my feet, I perhaps need to bring my gaze up the wall a bit because I've got taller. And then it comes back down again. Good. Okay. So it's familiar movement. So if this feels fine, the next time you come up, you're going to stay up on the balls of your feet. Try and stay quite wide across the balls of your feet. And you're going to float your arms up. And we'll just have a couple of breaths there. And yeah, in a moment, I'll adjust my screen. Good. Let the shoulders soften. Keep quiet through the front of your body. So particularly those low front ribs, just see if they can stay soft and relaxed. Good. See if you can feel another cycle of breath move through you. And as you come down from this, you can let your heels come down and you can sweep your arms all the way down into a forward bend. Again, of course, Tracy, if it's better, or anyone else, to bend your knees and rest your elbows on your thighs, you can do so. Good. Let your head go, let your arms go. Very nice. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then on an exhalation, sink down into your heels. Roll back up into standing. And just come back to, actually maybe just give the legs a shake out first. And just for a moment, come onto the top of each foot in turn. So you're stretching out, back of the ankle. I've got my fingers on the wall here. We're going to come on now to some one leg standing balances. And if you're feeling at all wobbly, it can be helpful just to have your fingers on the wall, at least as you get yourself settled. So yes, if it's that sort of day, Donna. So we're going to start by settling the feet down, swaying a little bit from side to side, and just making a choice about which foot you'd like to stand on first. So sometimes we feel a bit more drawn to standing on one leg and foot. If they both feel equally wobbly, then you just need to make a decision. We're going to be coming into tree pose. And then what I'd like you to do, so you choose the leg you're going to stand on. And then we're going to choose where we put our foot. So we could bring our foot onto our ankle with a few, possibly with some toes on the floor. We could slide our foot further up the inside of our standing leg, so the heel is above the knee. Or we could catch our ankle and bring our foot right up to the top of our thigh. So we're trying to sink the heel into the sort of indentation above the thigh muscle. And then we can bring the hands into prayer pose. That's nice. And just settle. But we have that intention of settling. It's not always the reality. Settling, feeling the breath moving through us. If you like, if you feel steady, you can let your arms grow up. This is where we become most tree-like. Let the shoulders stay soft and relaxed. Good. And this feeling of being aware of yourself, feeling yourself from your heel up to your fingertips. So the sense of your awareness traveling through the whole of your body. And of course, from taking your arms up, it can be nice to then gather your hands back to your heart in prayer pose. And again, see if you can quieten there for another breath or two. Obviously, the longer we stay on one leg, the more the muscles of that leg start to shout a bit. And good. Very nice. So yeah, whenever you're ready, come down and have a little shake out of legs. And then just start how we set the side two, just start in the same way. So I would just again start by looking down at your feet. There's that sort of reassuring look at the floor. It helps you feel a bit more rooted. Then stop looking at the floor. You maybe find a point to focus on in front of you. And then you're going to try those different foot positions where you might know where you want to take your foot. So there's ankle, there's your heel just above your knee. We do all these things without looking in a way, just by touch and by feeling. If you want to put your heel high up your thigh, you've also got to catch your ankle. And then you can gather your hands into prayer pose at your heart. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually resting my thumbs on my breastbone. So this point between the throat and the heart, Karmanadi, that can help us feel a bit more steady. And then from here again, if you like, depending how steady you're feeling on this side, you could let your arms grow up. Keep the shoulders soft. Feel alive into your fingertips. and all the way down into your standing heel. See if you can feel the flow of your breath through your body. Again, you might like to gather your hands back to your heart, back into prayer pose. Very nice. Well done. Amazing. Amazing balancing. Good. Come back down, have a little shake out. So I think balancing is easier. It's definitely easier on Zoom when you're in your own home. There's not distractions of other people around. Let's come into another forward bend. So settle your feet down, little distance apart. Let yourself fall forwards. In this forward bend, if you want to sort of sweep your arms around the fronts of your feet to the right and to the left, just have a bit of movement in your forward bend. Tracy, probably not for you, but if that would feel nice, you can do that. So just this sort of weeping willow movement, imagining your fingers are the branches of a beautiful weeping willow tree trailing in a river, if sort of images help you. Very nice. And it's also, when you've done a bit of sweeping your arms from side to side, it's quite nice just to be in the centre. Release your arms down towards the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then on an exhalation, you can sink into your heels, roll up into standing, or walk your hands up the fronts of your legs. So give each leg a little bit of a lengthen out now. We're going to come on to, well, I say one more standing balance, but we're going to do it in a couple of different ways, different variations. So again, come back, start by looking down at your feet, feet a little distance apart. And we're going to start by taking our right arm up. And then starting to shift our weight onto the right leg. So the left leg becomes lighter and lighter. We could let the left heel come up. So then when we actually bring the left foot off the floor, and we're going to catch the top of the foot and drop the knee, that's, you know, we barely notice the foot come off the floor. Good. And we're going to have a couple of breaths with the arm up. Let your knee drop towards the floor, let your shoulder be relaxed, and then bring your hand down onto your breastbone. So we're bringing the hand back to that place, that point between the throat and the heart. Karmanadi, which is this point that promotes steadiness. As we all know, steadiness is both physical and psychological, emotional. Good. See if you can have another breath or two here. Sorry, Donna, I'm putting you off by looking. I'm not looking at you, I'm looking in your direction. Good. Very nice. See if you can, that's it. Come down, have a little shake out. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll come back to this balance and we'll go a bit further with it in a moment. So again, start with your feet, looking at your feet, if you like, organising your feet on the ground. And then the left arm comes up. Thank you. Weight coming into the left leg. So there's really this sense that we can become very light through the right foot. We can let the right heel come up. When the right toes come up, it's almost barely noticeable. We catch the top of the right foot. Good. Let the knee drop. Just let ourselves settle here. Good. Good. You can always catch your trouser leg. If it's hard to catch your foot, catch your trouser leg. You could even put your lower foot up on the chair or a sofa if it's hard to catch your foot. Let your hand come down onto your breastbone now. Good. So again, this Karmanadi, this point between the throat and the heart. That helps us to feel steady. Maybe we can feel the movement of our breath in our body. Good. Very nice. Come down, have a little shake out. So we're going to come into a different sort of forward bend. Yes, Tracy, if you need to do a squat, do so. Hilary, if you need to do a squat, you do so. What we're going to do is have a bit of distance in front of you on your mat. I've got some very creaky floorboards here, so that you can step one foot forwards. Okay. And I'm just going to show you that when you stepped 1 foot forwards, you still want that little sideways distance, so you don't feel you're standing on a tightrope. Then we do this, yeah, my favourite thing is where we're just letting our weight shift forwards and back. So we come onto the ball of the back foot, the heel of the front foot, and we're just trying to let ourselves drop down into the feet. Feel the feet on the floor. So this is very akin to walking meditation, where the focus for our awareness is the feet on the ground. Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to bring your front leg hand onto Karmanadi, so onto that point between your throat and heart. Good. And then whenever you're ready, you're going to let all of your weight come into your front foot, and you're going to catch your back foot. So come back to that balance we were in. And then we can take this further by reaching forwards with the hand that was at Karmanadi and reach our foot back away from our bottom. So we've got this forwards and back movement here. It's quite dynamic. Reaching back with the foot away from the bottom, forwards with the arm, possibly tilting forwards a little bit if you like. And you can let your pelvis roll to the side as well if you like. Good. Let's see if you can find a place. A couple of breaths. Now, sometimes in this one, because we're moving a lot, we fall out of it. So you can always come down. If you fall out, you can catch your foot again, bring your hands back to Karmanadi. You can just try moving into it again. So the sort of movement into is as important as the balance, yes. And if you need to have a little stretch out in your spot, do so. Good. And then before we come on to the second side, let's just settle the feet back down. So you've got that same front foot forwards. We're going to come into a forward bend with the legs in this position. So make sure both feet are pointing forwards. We're going to bend the front knee, come to rest on that front leg, and you could fold forwards. You could then let your chest come close to your front thigh and let your head go and bring your arms, your hands down towards the floor. So we're coming into a forward bend with 1 foot stepped forwards. The front knee's bent, the back leg could be a bit bent, but straight if, you know, see what's better, bent or straight. I would probably say straight, but whatever's more comfortable. Have a couple of breaths there, and then coming back up on an out breath by sinking down into your feet. Good. Having a little bit of a shake out. Okay, this is going to be our last balance. We're going to be coming down out of standing. So feet side by side, you're going to step the other foot forwards. So which other foot wasn't forwards last time? And come back to our little bit of walking meditation without going anywhere. So here we maybe not looking at the feet, we're trying to feel the feet on the floor, heel of the front foot, ball of the back foot. And then bringing the front foot hand onto Karmanadi, onto that point between the throat and the heart. All of the weight into the front foot, catching your back foot. So we're back in this balance. And then we can find this forwards and back movement. So we're reaching forwards with our front hand, we're reaching our heel back away from our bottom. Good. And again, it may be that you can stay there and feel very steady, or it may be that you need to, you come down, you gather yourself for a moment, you try that movement again, that reaching forwards with the arm. Good. Backwards with the foot. Very nice. Lovely. Well done. Excellent. Amazing. So just finally, what final thing in standing is to come into our forward bend with that same foot stepped forwards, the one we were just standing on, with that front knee bent, both feet pointing forwards, front knee bent. We can come to rest on that bent front thigh with our hands or our elbow, and we can fold further forwards and bring the chest onto the thigh. And we can just have a couple of breaths. Good, very nice. And then sink into your heels, come up into standing. And we're going to make our way from the back of our mat. And I thought we're going to a forward bend. Maybe we'll do a squat because it looks like some people would benefit from that. And then we'll come into dog pose to take ourselves down. So at the back of your mat, you could, one last time, look down at your feet. You could maybe, before we come down into our forward bend, just feel yourself in standing. So close your eyes. You could sway a little bit from side to side if you like. Just have a sense of your body in standing, soles of the feet on the ground, arms hanging, head balanced on the top of the spine. And then when you're ready, you can roll down into a forward bend. And so the first thing we'll do from this forward bend is we'll start to bend our knees more over our feet. So we'll come down into a squat by bending the knees over the feet. And it's fine if the heels come up. This is obviously really personal. That's it. You want to let the pelvis come down. If it means your heels come up, that's fine. Yes, you can grab the sides of your mat and pull them further forwards. That might help you stay more balanced. Yes, or you can have your fingertips on the floor, anything that helps you stay here. We're trying to just let the weight of the pelvis hang down and lengthen out the lower back. And then from this squat, we're going to go back into our forward bend. So we're going to be sending the heels down to the ground and the sit bones up to the ceiling. So we come back into our forward bend. And then from your forward bend, you're going to walk your hands forwards into dog pose. And obviously there's always this sort of little bit of, where do I stop? Where's a good length for dog? So you can just have a little experiment with that. You can have a few breaths in your dog, and then if you feel okay, maybe I could be a bit longer, or perhaps I'm too long, you can adjust where your hands are. And from dog pose, you can have a few more breaths here, but from dog pose, you're going to be folding down into child pose. So really up to you. Good, how you're feeling at this point. So use child pose as a little bit of a rest. We are going to be doing some more movement on hands and knees. But just have a, what's going on there, Tracy? You've got it wrinkled up mats, yeah. Let child pose be a little bit of a rest. So make it as comfortable as possible. That might be taking the knees a bit wider apart. B, make sure that you've rounded your back in cat pose before you go into child pose. I mean, it looks nice to me, but depending how it feels. Good. Let's just see if we can feel 2 or 3 cycles of breath move through us in child pose. So feeling the breath coming in, feeling the breath leaving. I'm just going to, in a moment, we're going to just do a few different ways towards face up dog. So Tracy, obviously with this, just go easy, and you might want to just do more of the hands and knees stuff. So the first thing you're going to do in child pose is to slide your hands forwards. So in child pose, slide your hands forward so your elbows come off the ground. Your forehead could still be on the ground. Your elbows come off the ground, and you plant your hands. And then you're going to come up onto hands and knees. So basically it means you come into a long hands and knees position. And we're just going to start this process of rocking forwards, but you're not necessarily going all the way to face up dog. And if, like me, you might think, oh, my hands felt like they were too far forwards, now they're too far back. So just a little bit of rocking forwards, and how does this feel? And then we're going to try a couple of different ways into this, which for most of you would be really familiar. So this is just in the start, how do our wrists feel? How do our arms feel? How does the lower back feel? Okay, let's then sit back over the heels a moment. So either sit in kneeling Or if kneeling's no good, yeah, Alice being up kneeling. So either here or here, shake your hands out, bring the backs of your hands together. Just give that's it, give the fingers a bit of a wiggle. And then we're going to come into hands and knees and do some cat. And then we'll move from cat into face up dog. So Tracy, you could always just focus more on cat, that was better. So be in a normal hands and knees to start with your hands under your shoulders. And you're going to do some rounding of your spine, some dipping of your spine. So rounding your back towards the ceiling, letting your spine dip down towards the floor. And just sort of, yeah, see if you can find an easy, comfortable movement. We often do this much earlier on in class, so it's quite interesting to come to it at this point. And you're very welcome to just stay with cat if that's better for your lower back, if what we've done for face up dog you felt was enough. Otherwise, we can move from cat. We can use the cat movements into face up dog. So now tuck your toes under. You're going to round your back to the ceiling and stay rounded to rock your hips back over your heels. And then let a breath come in. Walk your hands forwards on the floor a bit. So you're lengthening out a bit, good. And then you're going to travel forwards on your out breath, rounding your back. So looking back at your pelvis. Keeping your back rounded until your shoulders are over your wrists. And then, so we're traveling forwards like this, you are. And then when your shoulders are over your wrists, then you let your pelvis go, untuck your toes, look forwards. And then you can reverse the movement. Come back, tuck your toes, round your back, all the way back, hips back over the heels. Let a breath come in, and again, travel forwards, rounding your back to the ceiling. Rounding your back, looking at your pelvis as it moves forwards. And then when your shoulders are over the wrists, then you start to, that's it, release your pelvis, look forwards, untuck your toes. We can do that once more. So travel back, tuck your toes under, round your back, look back. Let a breath come in, and then travel forwards on your out breath, looking back, rounding your back. So we really let the lower back lengthen out by doing this. Good. That's very nice. And then you can go back into child pose just for a couple of breaths, and then we'll do a bit of tail wagging, and we'll take that into face up dog. So come into child pose, let your back lengthen out, take the work out of your arms for a moment, and then we'll do a little bit of tail wagging. Otto has disappeared, so you can't demonstrate the tail wagging. Again, you might like to come into kneeling for a moment and shake your hands out, or up kneeling here, whichever you prefer. Bring the backs of your hands together, so we've got this sort of waggly movement of the hands. And then we'll come on to hands and knees. So again, start with the normal hands and knees. And you're going to be doing your tail wagging. So on hands and knees, imagining you have a tail and wagging your tail from side to side. So obviously I always think dog owners have an advantage here. Cats, of course, you know, I always think that the cat swishing its tail is a little bit more alarming. So you just find they're not so happy. Good. So imagine you have this tail wagging your tail from side to side. And then we're going to take the hands a bit further forwards, and we're going to wag our tails back into child pose. So pelvis side to side, back into child, and wag our tails side to side into face up dog. So wagging your tail from side to side. So the other animal you could think about here is, don't like thinking about these, but snakes. And they do the side to side movement to propel themselves along. So, yeah, it's a bit of a snaky sort of movement. And this can very much sneak us into face up dog. Now, if you wanted to, this is just, again, well, it's all optional, isn't it? But from one of these face-up dogs, if you wanted to go up into dog pose and do one last dog pose, so from your face-up dog, you could tuck your toes under, come up into dog. It might end up being quite a long dog, and you might want to walk your feet in a little bit. And if you're still feeling extra lively, you could take it on into your one-leg dogs. It's not one-handed dogs, Donna. It doesn't look like that was going to happen in a moment. So yeah, if you wanted to play around with taking one leg off the ground, you could do foot and obviously leg. Very nice. And again, when you've had enough of dog, one leg dog, fold down into child pose. Good. In child pose, just quieten for a couple more cycles of breath. We're making our way now into lying down in a moment. So from child pose, I'm going to get you to slither forwards onto your bellies and settle down on your belly. So I tend to have one hand on top of the other and then my forehead or a cheek resting on the top hand. And give your pelvis a wiggle. So yeah, just to help you settle, give your pelvis a wiggle. And so sometimes this is a place that we love. Can be a place we learn to love if we don't like it so much. So when you've given your pelvis a wiggle, then see what it's like to have a couple of quiet breaths lying on your belly, and just, you know, how comfortable is that? And notice perhaps that we feel our breathing more in the back of our body because the front of the body is constrained by the floor. And then Tracy, you might just want to wiggle your pelvis again. We can do this other movement where we take the soles of our feet to the ceiling. So bend your knees, take the soles of your feet to the ceiling, that's it. And then you're just going to tilt your feet side to side. Tip your feet to the right and to the left, that's it. Just keep relaxing, let the head rest down on the back of the hands. Let the feet tip from side to side, tilt from side to side. Oh, both feet in the same direction, Alice. And the legs, so that's the low, it's not just the feet, sorry, I was maybe not being very clear. The lower legs are tilting from side to side. That's it, good. Very nice. And then let your legs come back onto the floor and just let yourself have another couple of quiet breaths on your belly. And again, bringing your awareness into the back of the body. We have more lung capacity here. Maybe you're not aware of that. So can we feel the movement of our breath in the back of our body? And then from your belly, you're going to roll over onto your back. And it's up to you. If you want to rearrange yourself so your head is in a different place, you can do. It's quite nice just to roll from the back, the belly onto the back. But I'm really aware that I know when I'm practicing, I like to have my head up one end and not the other end. Sometimes I get knotted at a door. Oh, and then, yes, just arrive on your back. You need to shut that window, Tracy, are you?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So just arrive on your back and you don't need to do anything just yet. We're going to do just some very simple sort of rocky, twisty movements and a bit of breathing lying down. So place your Donna, if you want a blanket, just let me know. So maybe to start with, on your back, bring your hands onto the front of your body somewhere. If they're there already, that's great. So hands on the front of your body somewhere, and using the contact of your hands on the front of your body to help you feel your body responding to your breathing. So it's quite calming to have our hands resting on the front of the body, and it also helps us to connect with our breathing. So we perhaps feel our belly or our chest or our ribs rise a little bit as we breathe in. And then as we exhale, they soften back a little bit. We just feel this sort of filling and emptying, rising and falling of the middle part of yourself with the breath. And then bring your attention to the back of your head on the ground. And just feeling the weight of your head on the ground, you can then start to let your head roll a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. So easing your head from side to side, keeping the back of the neck, or keeping everything feeling comfortable. So you're not pushing this movement, you're staying very much within a comfortable range. That looks really lovely now, Tracy. Very nice. You can do this a couple more times to each side. And then from rolling your head from side to side, find a comfortable place to settle the back of your head on the floor. So the centre of the back of your head, roughly thereabouts. If the back of your neck still feels a bit tight, you can always pick up your head in your hands and gently lengthen out the back of your neck. So you sort of interlink your fingers around the back of your skull. You don't really want to pull on your head, but just to sort of gently create a bit of space there. I know often you can feel really tight at the base of the skull. Good. And then if you let your head settle down, and if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor and have a little distance between your feet. And then just start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. That's nice. And this movement, yeah, Tracy, that looks much easier than earlier. It all looks much easier. It's really good. Yeah, so this movement can be little or it can be larger. The most important thing is it feels comfortable for you right now. And then if you pause in the middle, you could take your feet a bit wider apart. So they're as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And you can feel that. Yeah, you can sort of feel when your feet get to the edges of your mat. And then do the same movement, the tilting of your knees to the right and to the left with your feet wider. So this sort of takes us back a little bit towards the sort of pinwheel type movements. And it's really up to you here. You can keep going from side to side, or if it's comfortable to take your knees all the way down towards the floor on one side, you could do. So Tracy, I don't know if you wanted to do that, but it could be that you take your legs onto this cushion that's seen better days now. Yeah, so just do it. Yeah, just keep moving. Then if it was better with your feet closer together. So if you are taking your knees all the way down to the floor on one side, and you could let your head roll in the opposite direction. So the knees are heavy on one side, you leave them there for a couple of breaths, and you let your head roll in the opposite direction. And then you do the same thing on the other side. So the knees are falling down to one side if that's comfortable, and the head is turning the other way. Good. Whenever you've had enough of this one, just before we finish, it might be nice to come back to the center, fold your knees into your chest. That's it. Hold around the top of your knees. You can do a little bit of rocking here from side to side, or a little bit of circling around the back of your pelvis. You can also take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. You could add your arms in if you want. So legs can go to the ceiling, have a little shake out. Yes, and then we'll just, how are we doing? So yeah, we're sort of slightly a few minutes after 10:30. If you've got the time, we're just going to have another minute or so of lying quietly on the ground. Either knees bent or legs long, whichever you prefer. So if you need to go, then that's fine. Good. So if you're settling down just for another minute or so of breathing, you can have your hands on the front of your body, or you can rest your arms on the floor beside you. And as much as possible, you're allowing yourself just to be and have a sort of very expansive awareness now. So there's a sense of your body, of the points of your body in contact with the ground, of your breathing, of the flow of your breath. And also aware of the air on your skin. And then beyond, you can be aware of noises, both within your room, beyond your room. The presence of other people or animals. And allowing yourself to rest in this awareness of everything that's happening within you and around you right now. So there's no rush. You may need to be getting up and on with the rest of your Friday, but if you don't need to, you can stay lying down. Thank you. I just want to stop the recording, so it's going to have that horrible voice for a moment.